Today we continue our look at Ephesians chapter 2, and we're going to be working from verse 4 through to verse 10, and it starts with this amazing phrase, but God. We've just heard in the first 3 verses of this chapter how dreadful we were, what our condition was, such a mess, but God being rich in mercy and full of great love, has decided to completely change our situation. And the way that we're changed is that we are given, right, a number of new things. First of all, we are given new life. We are given a new position. And we are given, as we're going to see down here, new purpose. So in Christ Jesus, we were dead, and now we have new life. Isn't that incredible? We were dead and we were lost. But we also have a new position. We were not just lowly servants. We are raised up and seated with Christ on the thrones of heaven. And lastly, we're given new purpose. We're no longer just pieces for the mantelpiece. We are to be useful. We have a new purpose in Christ. And I really want to explore, or Paul wants to explore really, how that comes about. Does it come about because you and I have in some way earned it? And this is where this idea of being dead is so important. If you're dead, there's nothing you can do to bring yourself back to life. Yeah, once you're dead, that's it. And the great thing that Paul is trying to communicate is you were dead. You had nothing to do with it. And we're going to see 3 or 4 times in this passage, really, the idea of grace. This grace, it's by grace that you have been saved. All right. And the reason that you've been saved is to show the immeasurable riches of God's grace. And Paul repeats the same phrase here, by grace you have been saved. Right. And we're going to see here it's not your own doing, it is the gift of God. The gift of God is another way of saying the grace of God. You see, and what happens is that we need to, or the thing that Paul wants to communicate to us is that you and I have done nothing, absolutely nothing, to warrant being saved, to warrant this new position, to warrant this new purpose. Absolutely nothing. And I want to challenge us this morning. Are we resting in that grace? Are we resting in grace? Are you still trying to work to prove yourself, to feel that you need to earn favour with God, that you somehow need to do something in order to acquire a new position in God, or to be worth the good works that God has called you to? Well, no, because it's completely not of your doing. It wasn't your idea. It wasn't by your strength. It's by grace. It's by the immeasurable greatness of God, right? So that no one, that includes you and me, may boast. We're not to boast about anything except amazing grace. That's what we have to boast in. Amazing grace. And so it's a great challenge to us to ask that question: in what areas of our life are we still trying to prove to God something that we just don't need to prove? But I want to finish with this little idea at the end of the passage, which is just one of the most beautiful phrases, I think, in the New Testament. It says we are his workmanship. Now, a better way of writing that, and some translations call it masterpiece. We are his masterpiece, or I'm going to say work of art. Well, you and I are a work of art, and we are created to show off the immeasurable riches of God's grace. You know, you might feel broken, you might feel like you're worthless, like you're nothing, but you are a work of art. You were created in Jesus. But you aren't just called to sit on a mantelpiece. You are called for good works, which God prepared beforehand. Paul said in the previous chapter, before the foundation of the world. You know, you and I have been chosen, and we've not just been chosen, we've been selected for a purpose, that we should walk in the purposes of God. And so my next question to you really this morning is, are we walking in the good works of God? Are we showing off God's grace by living out his good works? and living to fulfill his purposes. You need to realize that you are beautiful, created as a work of art to demonstrate the grace of God. And I just pray, as we consider these scriptures, as we consider these verses, that we would allow the grace of God to release us into the good works that he has for us.